Welcome to CoBB, Conversations on the Business of Brands with Sudeep Chawla and Sharavana Raghavan.
Okay, Sharon, IPL season, lots of excitement around, at least amongst the cricket enthusiasts, but also amongst marketeers. IPL brings with itself barrage of new advertising, lots of celebrities, and lots of marketing money being poured. So, have you been watching matches or advertising this year?
Of course. I'm a complete CSK fan,
Acha,
and you didn't know.
no, of course. But, to be a CSK fan after the last 2-3 years is also not an easy task.
Okay, let's not go there
Okay,
because we won enough trophies
I'm
to last for others to catch up now.
I'm sure. Dhoni and his matters will be resolved by somebody else. Let's talk about what we really intend to.
Yeah.
Advertising. What is your favorite advertising from IPL this year?
I really like the Dream 11 ads because every year they do something different.
Interesting.
And
Yeah.
with Amir Khan, who's not been having a good run in films, it's like he's having a blast. And
Hmm.
taking a joke on himself, joking about others. The love. I just like the band. I quite enjoyed those ads.
No, in fact, you're right. I also thought that the storytelling is quite amazing.
Yeah.
The film lands punches after punches. So they've had a real fun with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'll also say, Sharon, this one actually is really good and a lot of people have liked it. And I think, therefore, you've got an easy answer this time around, right? This one is because I think the brand has done a good job of making sure that everybody remembers that it's a Dream 11 ad, right? But, in all the years that I've known you, and we've been doing podcasts for roughly, 2 years now.
Yeah.
So I don't think you have ever taken a stance on an ad, or there are lots of ads that get shared on LinkedIn where they say that this is a creative masterpiece. It is the most beautiful piece of creative that we've seen in a long time. I've never seen you putting any message or any, even a like or an endorsement of such kind, right? And why
I'm
that?
impressed that you even noticed that because noticing something is not doing is even more difficult. So a lot of clients actually send me ads. A lot of
Hmm.
prospective clients, friends send ads saying, "How do you like it?"
Hmm.
I don't really have a reaction to that because I don't enjoy watching ads or I don't enjoy watching the films. I love the storytelling that comes with ads, like even the Dream 11 we're talking about. It's just that I don't react because I don't understand or know the brief that is there. So
Hmm.
without knowing the purpose of saying why this ad was made, what is the objective for the brand, what they're trying to achieve, you really can't tell whether the ad is good or bad. The ad can do
Okay.
one thing, but it could be meant to be doing something completely different. So you can't really judge that. No?
Okay. So we're back to the sarcastic Sharon. So you're actually saying that everybody else who is reacting blind.
Not blind, but see, they are reacting to how the ad made them feel. But brand communication is not about feelings. It doesn't necessarily have to entertain. It is about whether it moved the needle for the brand based on the objective they set for it.
Yeah. Okay. But now you're completely stripping the fun out of advertising.
I knew you'd say this because you keep saying this and you never let me say that.
Yeah.
But it's not about stripping the fun out of advertising, right? Advertising is not art. Again, this again could be a very debatable point, but it's not art for art's sake.
Yeah.
It's a business tool. And
Yeah.
the moment we forget that it is supposed to help the business, we start judging ads like we judge movies on the entertainment value, the production quality, the emotional impact. So everybody says, I want to make an emotional film. My response is, for what joy? Why does your film have to be emotional?
Hmm.
And without asking the or understanding the purpose of why that ad is being made, you really can't judge whether it's doing its job or not, right?
Hmm.
How can you review somebody on their work without knowing what their job description is? Same as that.
Sure.
And actually, let me add something to it. A lot of the creative people who work in advertising don't help their case.
Mm-hmm.
And this I keep seeing all the time. So there are these wannabe filmmakers. And they treat making ads as building their showreel to become a director. They want to put all their technical know-how, all their cinematography skills, all the direction capabilities, and they want to win awards. And I will, when production house comes and says we won Cannes and all, that's the worst thing they can tell me when they're coming onto a brand. Because if their objective is to win awards and make their film, they are not focused on the brand. And it could be great for them to make this film, but it just does not help why the ad is being made.
Okay, I hear you. I hear you. Although, let me put a disclaimer saying that if you're part of a team that has win Khan, Sharan is not saying that you're not serving the brand. Khan is as much about creativity as much it is about effectiveness. But I think that the meaning that you're trying to drive is that winning a Khan can't be the end.
It can't be the goal for the film.
Yeah, it's
Can't
just
can be incidental.
yeah, it is something which is incidental. The real goal is the strategic objective of the film. That's what you're
Yeah,
saying. Okay.
absolutely.
Okay. So therefore, if and hence you think that a lot of the marketers today or companies today are paying for somebody else's directorial debut.
So we become this unwitting cheerleaders for the creative folk. I'm not saying it's wrong, just that we get seduced by the storytelling. We also want storytelling, right? It captivates anybody.
Yeah.
What we forget in this captivation is to ask that question: does this help my brand or not? That core question is something we miss a lot of times when we're captivated by the storytelling.
Sure. No, no, take. I think I see where you're coming from. Now let me be a bit more constructive and ask you. So now you are the marketer, agency, or somebody else has sent you a campaign or a TV ad. How do you judge it?
Well, that is research you can do, but I'm taking research out of the equation for now,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
the whole
yeah,
idea of this episode is to get people to build intuition and ask questions to themselves how to judge a creative output, not necessarily TVC, any creative output, and
yeah.
in marketing is concerned, right? So it comes down for me to a few simple questions. First is your brand registering? Are people able to understand that this is about your brand? If people remember the ad and the communication but forget the brand, it's of no use. So I remember this. The first TVC I was ever part of was the Tang TVC.
Hmm.
And when we tested it with audience, a lot of them thought it was a Horlicks ad,
Oh, okay.
because Horlicks at that time was running a taller, stronger, sharper campaign.
Yeah.
Also had kids going out playing and building their own playground, a similar setup. And a lot of the attribution happened to go to Horlicks.
Nice.
That's really bad. It's not nice at all.
No, no, it's good that we had the awareness to check it and the humility to accept it.
And that's after the ad was aired. So the
Yeah,
second day we
I'm
took
sure.
action. The second one is your message clear? Can someone explain what you're trying to say in the ad in one sentence? If they
Yeah.
can't, then it's of no use. If you're entertaining them, but why are we putting out ads? Because we want to do something. We want the consumers to do something, take away something. And if that message isn't clear, then what?
Yeah.
Third is it relevant to the audience? I say to the audience, not to me, not to you, not to the creative director, but
Hmm.
to the consumer.
Yeah.
Are they able to relate to what is being said?
Hmm.
And four, I would say, does it drive action or build long-term memory? So we do, like I said, we do ads for two reasons. One, either get them to do something as a result of having watched the ad, or build memory. So you seed something in their mind for future action. Now, not every ad will trigger immediate sales. And that's where the biggest debate is: why should you do advertising if it's not doing sales? But it is about planting that seed. Is your ad able to do one of these two at least? Your
Hmm.
communication. And the fifth, is it true to the brand's personality? If, say, suddenly a newbie brand comes and behaves like the category leader, it doesn't work. So you've got to have, every brand got a distinct personality that you built over the years. Does it fit into the realm? Now, I remember one ad that was done on Cadbury Dairy Milk.
Mm-hmm.
It was the Snow Fight ad.
Yeah. Nimrat Kaur.
Nimrat Kaur, correct. And we internally loved that film.
Mm-hmm.
And we said it is brilliant, it's capturing what CDM stands for. But it just didn't work with the audience at all. And that is saying it felt off personality for the audience that we were having at that stage. It fit the personality for the marketers in the room, not the consumers. And I think that was followed up with the Sat Samundar ad, which kind of cracked all scores with consumers. And which I personally thought is very off-brand, but it fit in perfectly with what consumers perceive the brand to be. So it again goes back to saying the brand's personality is what the consumers say it is. It doesn't really matter what we think it is.
Correct.
And the fifth one is something that a lot of people miss. Is it distinctive enough for your business, for your brand? If you remove the logo, does it still look like your brand's film? So again, I go back to Dairy Milk because I know CDM's got a series of well-done ads. The amount of purple that's there in the ad, the gold that used to be there. So establishing your brand colors, the distinctiveness. I think one brand that does it consistently, but does only this consistently and doesn't do great communication, in my opinion, is ICICI Bank.
The orange,
Yes, they make sure orange is part of every communication, no matter how shit the communication itself is, or the production quality, or the messaging, nothing. But they'll make sure the distinctiveness is there. That is something a lot of us let go of, especially when working with a very engaged director or a production house to make the film. We let go of the distinctiveness that's there for the brand. It's very easy to miss because we see it every day. And from a consumer perspective, if the logo is not there, it might work for any other brand. So these are the 5 things I'd say is important for it to stand out.
Okay. While I like the framework or the checkpoints, Sharan, one of the dangers that people see with a list of 5, 6 things is that it then starts straitjacketing everything, and it almost seems like a cookie cutter approach that after following this, all ads will look the same. Yeah. So then, what differentiates one from the other? Maybe the director's creativity.
So a lot of people mistake it to be this creativity being the differentiator, but it rarely is. It is the distinctiveness of the brand. So what the brand stands for, what is the brand saying? Because creativity, for the sake of being clever or cool, it's more like a performance, right? It's not necessarily communication. But when the creativity is rooted in what the brand stands for, the core brand strategy, that's what makes communication distinct. That is your distinctiveness in the brand is already there. You got to build on top of it and not start afresh. And most ads end up so when I talk to production houses from the south, I very condescendingly refer to the ads that get made in Tamil Nadu as Lion Dates ads.
Why
There's
is
a
that?
brand called Lion Dates.
Okay.
And they say, this is Lion Dates, it's got iron, it's got this, it's great for health. And the mother comes and gives it to the kid. Every ad follows the same template. There's nothing else that's done. And I have a feeling it's done by the same director also. We sit in the South and say, though the Bombay guys, the Delhi guys don't understand South. They don't know how to make films for the South. But you see the films are actually getting made in the South. It's that bad. Because they want to express their creativity when there's not really none. There's no brand for any of this communication that's being put together. And they end up sounding the same because there's only creativity being there and the strategy part is being done very lazily. Because most of these businesses don't have a marketing team in place. They depend on the agency to do it. Agency works with the production house. The strategy part becomes a very lazy exercise. That is when it all ends up looking the same.
Okay.
Actually, one thing I learned from a friend who's a ad filmmaker is that good creative people love constraints. Anybody can be creative. As in, if you want to be creative, anybody can be creative. The challenge is in being creative within the constraints you're being offered. And when your brief is clear enough about what you cannot do, then your path becomes so much clearer. And the creative is able to find a unique way, and that brings out the distinctiveness in the communication.
Well said. Well said. Okay. Okay. So now that you've made a brilliant case for taking creativity out of the equation, I've seen in the past that when you have a good script, the director is able to lift the script. Now that lift actually comes from creativity, their hand on the pulse of the audience, etc. Sometimes it creates great entertainment. Dream 11 ad is a good example of great entertainment. Now, all the banter that Hardik Pandya is having with Bumrah in the background of the ad is entertainment. It adds nothing to the brand strategy, etc. Right? Last but not the least, also is that a lot of the times the director are able to create some kind of cultural references, relevance, etc. I think all of this comes from creativity or the masala that the director puts in. No?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is, like you said, when the director lifts the film from the
Yeah.
base script. That's where
Yeah.
the magic actually happens.
Yeah.
And I'm not for 1 minute saying do away with the magic. Magic is important. Magic without meaning for the brand or the consumer is an
Yeah.
absolute waste of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So advertising can and even should entertain, inspire, move people to doing things that they might not have otherwise. But it should always be in service of the brand. And you cannot, like in one of the previous episodes, you said, you should not put the cart before the horse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, you made great content and not great brand communication. That's what you want to avoid.
No, fair. Fair. This one I agree to. That brand comes first, and then everything else. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now I'm moving one step prior to the communication. And we have spoken about this in the past, which is about the brief. Right? We said the brief should never be brief, etc. The brief presumes clarity in the mind of the writer of the brief. Right? Too often we've seen scenarios where I think marketers possibly don't know what exactly they want, which also means that they want too many things, right?
Everything.
They want everything. Correct. And what do you think is the result of that?
Oh, well, the result of that is pretty obvious, right? It's a pretty terrible communication that comes out of it.
Mm.
If people can go back to the episode where you spoke about writing the brief, if the marketer doesn't have clarity, then there's nothing going to come out of the creative team. And it will be very, very broken. It can look good, it can be entertaining, but it will be a bad ad because it doesn't work for the brand. So I'll tell you what, a lot of people end up blaming the creative teams. You should have asked this. I'm sorry. If you can't write a brief, then you're not a good marketer. The creative agency is not there to solve for your confusion, the marketer's confusion. It is the marketer's job to write clear and sharp briefs and articulate the business problem and define the objective, describe the audience, explain what success looks like when you're making this film. That's not the creative agency's job. If the marketer can't do right by him or his or her job, then the communication is doomed to fail.
So bad communication also is a marketer's fault rather than the creative agencies or the
Absolutely.
production houses. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Coming back to judging a communication, right? Now we keep saying that I like this, but somebody else didn't, right? So it's a very subjective argument,
Yes, it is.
right? So now, and that's where the problem lies. Yeah. If everything is subjective, how do we bring objectivity to it? How do you separate your personal bias, personal taste, etc. when you're judging a creative?
Well, it's difficult. And we can't exactly be 100% objective about it when we judge it. So it would require some robotic frame of mind to keep away all your personal likes and dislikes and just judge it objectively, which would actually take the joy out of communication building the way what you accuse me of. But it means you have to recognize your taste, and you must be cognizant of the fact that your taste does not have to be the audience taste. Acknowledge it, but even as you write the brief, you would know what appeals to you personally and what appeals to the audience. Only then you write the clear brief. So watch it a few times, enjoy it from your taste perspective first, and then actually put on the audience lens. This is where your point of hyper empathy with the consumer comes into play. So you can't not enjoy a communication you make. So enjoy it. Look at it from your perspective. Does it not work for you? Doesn't matter. Does it work for you? Also doesn't matter. But sit back and look at it with the consumer's lens after you let your personal preference come to the fore. Because only when you keep your ego aside and out of the room is when you actually become a good marketer. It's not about your personal preference at all. It's about what works for the audience. Have that lens.
Well
Use
said.
both the lenses to justify it.
Now, there are times when we come across communication, Sharon, that we classify as equity communication. something which isn't meant to drive immediate sales, something which is meant to drive long-term brand positioning, brand love, etc., etc. Is there a different way of judging it?
It is. That's why I go back to saying it's about the brief. Now, you judge the communication on the back of the strategy that is built on. Now, I go back to Tang because I did a very activation-led campaign there. So while we wanted to establish Tang for the fruit energy and all that, it was the campaign with giving a bottle free which worked the best for me in one season. It doubled our business in 3 months within one activation. And that was the idea, to get people to buy the smaller packs of Tang. And there's nothing creative about it. Just put it was a graphic which put 3 packs in a bottle and said, you buy this. That was it, which also is fine. So what is the purpose of the ad? Is it to build memory structures, to build imagery? Is it reinforcing what the brand actually stands for? Is it a mood piece? Basically, so Dream 11 right now, they're not saying anything, right? They're not saying download, they're not saying play. They've got decent user base. They are triggering Dream 11 in the IPL season for people to engage on the app and to put up their fantasy teams and win money, bet. Basically, that's what it comes down to. And see, there's nothing wrong with short-term advertising. There's nothing wrong with long-term brand building work. It just has to be deliberate. It cannot be, oh, by the way, this did that for us. No, this is what I wanted to do. And did I manage to do what I wanted to do or not? Is the question. And that has got to be the brief.
Okay, fair. So now that we've gotten thus far, now tell me, you've spoken about how to construct the right ad, how to judge it, etc., etc. It almost sounds like a perfect formula. So can this perfect formula be used to create a perfect ad?
No. There is no perfect ad, in my opinion. There's only an ad that is right for the brand, the audience, and the objective at that point in time. So the same film that worked for one brand at one point might not work later. So it can't be classified a perfect ad. It changes. So there's no, like a perfect movie, there is no perfect ad. Some ad that we saw as children would trigger nostalgia for us. But perfection itself is subjective. So what matters is that whether the communication is clear, relevant, distinctive, and in line with the strategy of the brand at that point in time. And that's all now is all that matters.
So now that I reflect on all that you've said, and you've yourself said that while the formula, and you were quite passionate about giving out the formula, but now you have completely dismissed and saying that, well, you can follow the formula, it will not create a perfect ad. But I see where you're coming from. So purely from a creative judgment point of view, what you seem to be suggesting to our listeners is that you must judge an ad like a custodian, not like a brand fan.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. Your job isn't to fall in love with the ad. Your job is to make sure it's right for the brand. Simple as that.
Okay. And while you blamed a lot of the agencies for chasing awards, etc., I believe marketers are equally responsible. And either ways, that kind of pursuit is not going to be able to save the ad if it does not tick those 5 boxes that you spoke about, right?
Absolutely. No way. And I could not have said it better. When you say it, it sounds a lot wiser than it.
Thank you for listening to CoBB, Conversations on the Business of Brands with Sudeep Chawla and Sharavana Raghavan. Subscribe and learn more at cobcast.net.